This is Expose UX, where startup founders seek help from user experience experts.
When I saw that first screen, it didn't jump out to me really until you started explaining it.
So it might be a little confusing as to what I can click on and what I can't.
For the sake of their users, these founders place their egos aside.
I don't think you've done your homework.
I'm completely confused.
Whether wireframes are fully launched, the experts help them advance their products. I'm your host, Richard Brevik. When I released my product, RivalSeek, over 30% of users were confused by it. I understood why, but didn't know how to fix it. That's when I turned to the experts, and now you can too. Let's meet them. Ken Tabor is the author of Responsive Web Design Toolkit, Hammering Websites into Shape. James Helms is the Director of Experience Design for Intuit. And Jeremy Johnson is the Vice President of Customer Experience for Project 202. Special thanks to the User Experience Professionals Association, Dallas Chapter. And also to Big Design Conference, September 8th through 10th, 2016 in Dallas, Texas. Filmed on location in the co-working space Fort Work in the Alto 211 building. Imran, welcome to Expose UX. Could you provide us some background on your company?
Yeah, sure. So a few months ago, I read an article about what it was like to live on food stamps. Somebody had tried to experiment on, living on food stamps, and on average, you get about $4 a day. And he recalled feeling a distinct loss of energy, heavier, groggier, and by day 10, he actually started to get sick. And a lot of people in the US rely on food stamps as their primary source of food. And so what I wanted to do is try to find a solution so that people who are low income and rely on food stamps could actually have access to healthy organic foods. And so that's kind of what I'm showing you today.
Great. Could you walk us through your product?
Yeah, sure. So it's really early in the development of it, just trying to figure out how this should be working. And so to start off, we got the main page here that just a little image and logo and the company name. And to start off, people can sign up, and you could either sign up to be one of the growers that we would source food from. We want to try to source locally to help reduce the cost of the food, as well as improve the shelf life, since when you get it closer to harvest, you have much longer shelf life because you're not having to travel as far. In this case, we're going to start looking at shopping. So you sign up to shop, and you get a confirmation in your email inbox, and from there you can go ahead and sign in. When you sign in, the first thing it'll do is it'll want to determine your location to figure out what's around you and what's available in your location. And then it takes you to this marketplace where from here you can start to filter things like maybe you want to filter between fruit and vegetables. So, tomato is a fruit, and go ahead and knock that out. Or maybe you're looking for something green, and so now all you have left here is the broccoli. We can also try to favorite things that you want to purchase like regularly. So we go ahead and favorite that, and what should happen is the next time you come in, those should be the first things that you see right away. You should also be able to see some of the nutritional information as well as how much of it is available in your area. To go from there, we can start to add it to cart and get ready to purchase it. So let's say we want to buy 3 items of the broccoli, go ahead and add it to cart, and then go ahead and check out. Here, kind of go through the usual checkout process that you get to see your tax and how much it costs and your total, put in your payment information, and review and submit your order, and then from there it should be delivered to your house. And then
I'm completely confused. This is for food stamps, right?
Right.
So do I have a credit card? I can pay for food stamps. I can pay food stamps with a credit card?
No, not so much. What I've been learning about the food stamp program is that they have this card that you have to have a unique point of sale system to purchase it, and I haven't updated the wireframes to reflect that yet.
Do people with food stamps have computers? Like, are we good with the fact that this is an experience that's like a shopping experience that makes sense for somebody that is struggling to feed themselves day to day?
I'm not sure.
As an entrepreneur, like having deep information about the people you're building things for, right, is key, right? And we're seeing in a lot of markets, right? People they might have a smartphone, right? And actually, a lot of times today, literally almost everyone, no matter what kind of economic level you're coming from, you may have some type of smartphone, right? But having a computer or a laptop is something you actually may not have. Like that's a luxury, right?
So are you suggesting that he should remodel this specifically for mobile for that large demographic of mobile users?
I think you need to go directly to the people that this is for, and you need to start with what makes sense for them. And I also think that the other thing is that they're not going to necessarily think things like, what's the calorie intake of this particular item? But I think that there's a huge opportunity to suggest to them, here are some things you should, here's a basket of food, and here are some recipes and some things that you could do, that this is a healthy day on $4 a day of food stamps. And I think that, and I love the other side. I wish you'd take us through the other side around signing up, because I think it's tremendously valuable that you have to have the other side. You're creating a platform, right, where you need suppliers and then you need consumers, but they are going to have very different needs and very different behaviors and very different goals. And so why do I want to be a supplier, and what matters to me there, and what's the value to me as the consumer? But you actually painted a really sort of vivid picture of the need to help, and then did absolutely nothing to actually sort of help us with what happens there. I mean, this is just sort of a generic shopping experience.
I mean, we're in a Dallas high-rise right now, so it's hard for us to hypothesize what the life of someone on food stamps is, right? I have not been there, and
That's
so
right.
I think that is, you need to go to that community, and you would need to sit with that community, and you need to observe, and what devices are they using? Do they care about this? What would get them to care about this? How would you entice them? And then you do have that supply and demand problem, right? You have to create both, right? Which isn't an easy task, right? So that means you have to get growers excited about putting into this program, right? And then of course you have to create both sides of that, which is a difficult task.
Well, to the comment about the ingredients, like I think that in terms of the experience, people are thinking in terms of meals. So every user experience, I always think about what's the workflow? Where do you start? Everybody starts there, and then how do you get people to step by through it? So maybe you think about it in terms of, am I doing breakfast or lunch or dinner? And then you might think, almost like you might want to make it a menu. It might be provocative and evoke a sense of a style of food from a region. And then that would be interesting, because you could base that on whatever fresh ingredients are in the region of your supplier, and then what's available for that seasonality. And then people might be more interested and enticed to eat healthy if you could put something together that's almost like restaurant quality. And then you bundle together all of the ingredients for it.
On the high-end space, right, there are meals that you can get delivered to you, right? Like you can get very well, like chef quality type food, like delivered to you. And I like Ken's point there around, yeah, they need to understand what the end product looks like. Like what is the experience, and it is a meal, right, and not a specific vegetable, right? And so how would they put those together? What does that bundle look like? How much does it cost? How do they get it? And then, do they cook more or do they cook less? Like, are they busier? Do they have two jobs? Like those, it's I think that the deep understanding of what that world is. There's Morton Spurlock, who's kind of known for going out and he had a TV show where he did he lived off minimum wage, which is actually very difficult for him to do for a certain amount of time, right? And he like lived that life, right, to understand. It's that walk in someone else's shoes. Are you a designer by trade, or what is your?
I'm an electrical engineer.
Okay, cool. So I think from a wireframe perspective, I think you have a lot of the kind of elements on there, right? I will say, yeah, getting a designer kind of on board, or there are a number of templates or builder type sites out there, and I think to kind of you want to see how quickly can you make this kind of come to life, right? So that you could actually sit someone in front of it and have them use it. But again, even go back to James, like, do they have a desktop or do they have a phone, right? And with mobile first being so popular, right, like maybe you should start at mobile and then move out from there. But
well,
again,
it's user experience. Yeah. You should start with the user,
yes,
right? Like, go find those people, look at their behaviors, watch what it's like for them to go through the shopping experience, and look for the opportunity, look for the pain, look for the moment that you can actually insert yourself and solve.
I'd like to take a moment to just address the wireframing, because I think a lot of people at home are going to wonder, like, they get these ideas, but he's made a tremendous step to just do this. it's definitely past the idea phase. So for the people at home, how's the wireframing? Does this communicate enough to developers, or any comments on that technique?
Yeah,
itself?
so I mean, early and often, right? So again, start with the user, right? So you may be getting a little ahead of yourself building out the solution before you understand all the needs. But yeah, is this a fidelity that's appropriate to even start paper prototyping or prototyping in front of people? Yes, yeah, we do this in our line of work quite often. So this is not unheard of. And I think just in general, obviously you were probably looking at other sites, right? And you're copying patterns, which is fine, right? And if it's been solved a number of times, right, they're more likely to know how to use that. So I mean, I think it's a good representation of a very low fidelity workflow that you could potentially put in front of someone and get some feedback on.
And it's cheap to make changes when you do get that feedback. You didn't hire a programmer at however crazy hourly rate to build something out. You're able to just kind of put it together and paste it up and make changes wholesale as much as you want. So that's really great, because early on is the cheapest time to make changes in any product's life cycle.
And I would actually advocate that go to prototypes that are even simpler, that are faster to iterate on. Just draw and work your way through a deck of flashcards and move things around on a table for people. There are ways to iterate much quicker. This is definitely sort of a second stage, but I do think that we use lots of techniques that are a lot simpler and a lot faster to change.
Great. Well, thank you for coming, and hope that the feedback's been helpful.
Thanks.